All right, back for another edition of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. It's Jonathon Howe alongside Travis Cunningham for episode, what is it, 73, I think we're on? Or are we on
72.
72. I keep getting like one ahead. Just a little cut in. It was, in fact, episode 73. So enjoy episode 72 over again with the numbers.
That's because you took a week off to go to Vegas.
That's definitely what it is. I'm still
Brag
not
about your Vegas
quite
trip
recovered.
for a couple minutes.
Okay, well, I mean, there's nothing really too crazy to say. I went and saw U2 at the Sphere. The
That's
Sphere
the
is
thing.
insane. That place is, it's so big inside of it, it doesn't feel real. It feels like an illusion. Because I think from like the floor to the ceiling is like the size of the Empire State Building or something, or the Statue of Liberty or
What?
something like that. Yeah, that's how tall that thing is. You can
Jeez.
put I think it's the Statue of Liberty. I think you can put the Statue of Liberty inside as the stat I heard or something like that. The whole like thing is a screen, like including the roof. At one point there was like a bird that was flying around and people thought it was real. And I was like, no, that's the screen. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's literally sitting on the ledge of concrete. I'm like, no, the concrete that you're seeing is also a projection. And they're like, what? Like, it's crazy. The screen is also speakers, so it's surround sound. And you can have like at one point U2 had like helicopters flying over as part of their video, and you could literally hear the helicopters going like behind you with the sound. It was the craziest experience. So I don't know if you get to go see like an esports event there, if you want to go see U2, if you want to go see a fight, because I think they're going to do UFC and boxing matches in there. Go to something at the Sphere in your life, because there's nothing that you'll ever experience like it. It is so insane. Plus, I came out of Vegas with the same amount of cash that I brought to Vegas, which doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah, not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah. So last bet of the weekend paid for my entire week,
saw
basically.
that. Nice.
It was lucky. It was very lucky. So yeah, good time in Vegas.
That's why Jonathon Howe was a week ahead of himself, and we're on episode 72, which my answer is Tommy Flanagan. Doesn't race anymore, but when I race modifieds, it was Tommy Flanagan, 72.
Nice. I'll go Tanner Podwinski, who is in a crate right now in the sprint cars. Crate Sprint, I think, is the last thing I saw him drive. Also was a staple of modifieds for the few years that I was calling
Larry
things
Lampman
over at
rocked
Maryville.
72 for a while as well.
Ooh, good pick. Good reach. I like that. And I should have wrote it down, or maybe I did and I lost the paperwork. But Fran gave me a 72 as well, so I'm apologizing. I don't remember who he would have suggested, though. Maybe it's in my... I don't know where it is. Either way.
Pavement's Junior Hanley.
There's a good one. Another good one.
The 70 deuce.
This show is, of course, brought to you by Ohsweken Speedway. I think you got 1 week left to grab your tickets and tables for the Ohsweken banquet. If they still have tables left, all their details will be up on their social media. And of course, Bicknell Racing products as well. Lots of, I'm assuming it's going to be a busy wintertime for all of us. I mean, lots of people are going to need parts. Lots of people are going to need different things over the off season, because we are pretty much officially in the off season for the modifieds. I mean, there's still some racing left on the calendar, but last weekend's World Finals at Charlotte was kind of like the big send off, I would say, to the modified racing world.
You can't even barely say. There is Orange County this Sunday for Short Track Super Series, and Georgetown. There's a couple more, but like for the dirt world anyway. DIRTcar.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a whirlwind of a weekend. I got lots of opinions on it.
I was only a little upset that I could not find, of all the things, like, they have every single kind of sport on in the sports bar in Vegas when you go to like a sports book. I was in a sports book and I was like, maybe they'll show dirt racing. They did not show dirt racing. So hopefully you streamed it from wherever you were taking in the action Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Let's start with the Thursday night. I guess let's go. What do you want to go with? Late models first, then mods?
Don't matter. I forget how they went in order of the nights. I think that night was Sprints mods or Sprints Lates mods.
Well, I'll start with the late models because I got him here. Mike Marlar won the Thursday nighter.
Oh, yeah. I was watching that one. Slack's buddy. He drove the 3RS once.
Yes, I do remember that.
Once or twice.
Chris Madden was second. Brandon Overton third. Hudson O'Neill fourth. And Dale McDowell, your top five there. I don't think there was any Canadian representation in the late models, was there?
Well, there's that Ricky Weiss is from Manitoba. He runs a lot. I think all of the Outlaw Tour.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd have to really look into that to say.
Yeah, I'm looking through and I'm not seeing anything.
Probably not, yeah.
Up. But
yeah, Charlotte's far.
Yeah, it's a pretty long haul for late models to go down there. But Either way. Although, wait, am I seeing somebody out of Blenheim? Hang on.
Probably.
I think I just passed somebody that I knew. Oh, no, I think it was Blairsville. Either way. Late models, good race. What did you think of the late models? I kind of like the late models
I
at
honestly can't remember.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
I think
My
it's a good
personal
track
opinion,
for
the
them.
best races of the week were the sprint cars this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, late models definitely put on a pretty good race as well. My favorite like late model tracks are like the bull rings when they can put the quarter panel on the wall and stuff like that. But
Yeah, really wrapped around the boards.
Charlotte, the first time I went to Charlotte, Jason Fager did that. He like I'd never heard of him before, and because he banged the boards on a rough track that night and ripped the spoiler off and passed cars, I knew who he was because of that. And he did that at Charlotte, but now the track at Charlotte's a lot more smooth and slick for sure. There's still a few bumps and stuff like that, but
Yep.
definitely got it wrangled in. It was rough that night.
Thursday nighter of the Super DIRTcar Series, Matt Shepard takes the win over Dimitrios Chirelos and Matt Williamson, Max McLaughlin, Anthony Perego, top 5 there. So we'll go ahead and spoil it. It was not a Canadian sweep. It wasn't really any Canadian, at least on the top set of the podium. But Matt Williamson did a great job representing down there, as we all expected.
Matt led until a late restart, and Shepard got him.
Mm-hmm.
Matt was leading for a while on that one, our Matt. And he fell to third, and yeah, Shepard usually struggles at the World Finals, but not this year.
No.
Spoiler alert.
He was on it this year. I should point out Steve Bernard finished 27th. And, I lost it here. Wanted to give a shout out as well to Felix Waugh. And we got one more, David Hebert. There it is, 14th. David Hebert finished in 14th. So on the Thursday nighter of that, I should say.
Our guest Jessica Powers there, but she didn't make any of the shows. She finished, I think, 6th the week before at the Sportsman race, but she was there. There was other locals around that went down too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. It's 45 modifieds. Good car count for, heck, I'd say at least a 6-hour haul for most of them.
Yeah.
People around here, it's like 10, 12, somewhere in there.
Yeah, there was a Canadian heavy heat in the last chance qualifier 2, I should say. Jessica Power, who you mentioned. We had Dexter Stacy also come out for that one.
There's another one.
And we also had Mario Claire out of Drummondville. So more than a few Canadians, but really the ones that made the noise was Matt making the show and having some strong podium runs. The Thursday nighter of the World of Outlaws went to David Gravel, which made things a little bit more interesting in the points going in as he was trying to track down Brad Sweet, who finished 4th. Rico Abreu was 2nd, Carson Macedo 3rd, and Tyler Courtney in 5th. No real surprises there, I would say.
Nope. Gravel's always good for wins. Can't quite lock down that championship. Been second bridesmaid for a long time, but he's always good at wins, good at winning at Charlotte. And Rico led, and he nipped him. Didn't nip him, but like got him at the end, I think, with 10 to go or so.
Yep.
And yeah, Rico was bummed about that. Rico wanted that win.
And let's jump to the late models on the Friday night. RTJ with a strong run to win that one over Dale McDowell, Chris Madden, Tim McCready, and Brian Shirley.
Yeah, RTJ. I didn't watch that one, but him and Tim McCready. Like it was always Tim McCready, my favorite late model driver, and now RTJ is pretty much right there with him on that one. And yeah, just love watching that guy race. And didn't watch that one though.
I was gonna say let's go to the Super DIRTcar Series for the Friday night, which is where
I miss Friday night.
This is the one you should have watched.
I didn't see any of the Fridays.
I mean,
I know.
Timmy Fuller gets it done with the win over Matt Williamson, Anthony Perego, Eric Rudolph up inside the top 5, and Matt Shepard in 5th in that one. And Tim Fuller, always good for a surprise win. I mean, he's had a pretty nice little year. Obviously, I got to see him.
Tim Fuller win is a surprise. I'm going to go with that.
Okay, fine. I would have thought at Charlotte, though, I figured, Williamson, Shepard, maybe Max McLaughlin. I kind of didn't have him circled.
Smidge. Oh, man, is there a better word than full-blown surprise?
Yeah. I don't know. Is there? I would say.
I don't know. I'm not good at words. I'm good at numbers. But yeah, I love Timmy Fuller, the Marlboro man.
Yep.
Yeah. One of his cars was in getting fixed today. I think the Super Dirt Week one. I was scoping out his real nice rad scoop he's got on that thing, like the rad screen.
Yeah.
Real pretty. But yeah, I just love Tim Fuller. The way he smokes his cigarette. Like he smokes it just like like the same stance like my dad used to have, like where you hold it with your pinky and thumb and like you kind of hold it behind your back
Yeah.
style. Like, you know what I mean? That
Yep.
stance. Yeah, they both could rock
Oh, I
that
got the
hardcore.
firsthand experience when I interviewed him for the
Yeah,
podcast
right,
earlier
right,
after
right.
his win at Brockville. So again, like I say, I thought it was kind of a surprise when he won Brockville.
Yeah.
Thought it was kind of a surprise when he won Charlotte. But either way, I'm happy for Tim and happy that he got to go down there, start on pole, and get the job done.
His interviews are always the best too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just oh man,
Sat.
one of the goats for sure.
So then that leaves the Friday night World of Outlaws sprint cars. Brent Marks gets the win over Justin Peck, Tyler Courtney, Brad Sweet, and James McFadden on the Friday. David Gravel finished 2 spots behind Brad Sweet in 6th, meaning that there is still a championship chase heading into the Saturday night.
Yep. I did watch this race. It was an awesome race. Marks got him by 0.013 seconds at the line, which is like my finish at Utica Rome in the B main was close earlier in the year, but that's even closer. That's like 4 times closer than that one was. Like, whatever. Like, how do you, like, borderline to like at that point, it's like, man, do you even know who won?
Yeah,
At
right.
that point, like, did the trend, like 0.013. But anyway, yeah, that was a close one. That's the race that made me say that the sprint cars put on the best shows. This, like, Charlotte leads it to a lot of slide jobs, and although you can roll the bottom, like Gravel won the Thursday night because he found the bottom off too, and like he would hold it all the way around, and he was getting the best run of it. They even all said that in the victory lanes. But yeah, Brent Marks,
great job.
He got a slow start to the year, but yeah, he's been hot lately.
Yeah, coming on strong to end the year. One more from the World of Outlaws late models. 50 lapper goes to RTJ on Saturday night as well over Mike Marlar. Chris Madden, Dale McDowell, and Garrett Smith, your top 5 there.
Yep. RTJ. But win number 50 for the year for him. So
he's just having one of those years. He's like
won over a mil. He's this year's mil.
I was gonna say he's the Davenport for this year. Not quite as much as Davenport, but
because Davenport got the million. You almost got to erase that because they got their 1 in a million or 1 in every 20 years race of the $1 million.
Yeah.
So he's really kind of hovering Davenport's season from last year, but his was inflated because he got $1 million in one race.
Yeah, exactly. So
millies in dirt racing. Just throwing millies around.
It's getting there, right? I mean, we got some high limit stuff that we'll get into, but the cash is starting to flow.
Millies for everyone.
Starting to flow. Want to jump into the Super DIRTcar series here for the Saturday night kind of. I guess, are we calling it the end of the season? I guess. I mean, like, I feel like in terms of the championship,
end of the Super Dirt season for sure.
The championship was kind of almost wrapped up at this point, right? Like, I think Matt trailed by like 80 plus points going into the final night.
Oh yeah, Williamson even conceded he needed lots of help.
He needed like to sweep all the weekend. So this was I don't want to say a formality because there was still some tight racing in the points, but Matt Shepard puts the exclamation point on it anyways and goes ahead and gets the win from the pole over Jimmy Phelps, Matt Williamson, Mike Mahaney, and Max McLaughlin.
Yeah, that one was never in doubt. That one was a big thing on that race was D500 versus D400. At Merrittville, you run a D300 right rear and a modified all the way around, just because Merrittville is not an abrasive track. So like D500, that's like a Syracuse old style tire, which I can't think of too many places they use that other than Charlotte these days. So you either 400, which is already harder, you run that kind of style at like a Brockville weekly, or 500, and that was the big decision. So Shepard went with the 500. He said he was worried about them watering it. Like a lot of the people were worried about how much they watered before their feature because they were first, worried about their tires firing. Like Matt Williamson in victory lane said he was on the 400 because he redrew bad, so he couldn't wait for his tire to get going. He had to get it going. So at the end, he said he was just hanging on, whereas Shepard was the other way. He put the 500 on, and he said he was worried about how much water they put on. He was wondering if he was going to throw the anchor out from the pole to start with, but he was able to get away and work the tire in once he got in clean air, which clean air seems like a big deal at Charlotte in the mods and late models. And he spanked him on that one.
Strong run to really put the capitalization of the championship, I would say. I mean, is this 10 now for Shepard, right? So
number 10.
I mean, it's to be expected.
And they're all from 2010 until now. It's like 10 of the last 14 or something.
Wild.
Like
that is an insane level of domination.
I personally think he's the dirt modified GOAT. Like, he's overtaken Breder.
Yeah.
It's not. like he doesn't have the 900 wins, and he probably will never get there just because Hearn was able to rack him up a little. I don't want
It's like Richard Petty.
today. There's
It's like the
I don't know.
Richard Petty 200 wins.
It's like the Richard Petty thing. It's kind of like the same thing.
There was more races
But yeah, like
to run, less competition when you went to those races, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it's kind of something like that. But I think Matt Shepard's officially the dirt modified. Until further news.
Someone who's climbing the ranks all time of sprint car racing, Brad Sweet gets the win on Saturday night they're calling it a walk-off situation, but I think he could have still run relatively okay. Like I think he just had to finish I thought I read somewhere somewhere inside the top 10.
Oh, it was basically locked up too.
Yeah, I think he just had to finish in the top 10 if gravel
I think it was
won.
even worse than that.
But Brad either way wins it over Rico. Logan Schuchart third, Brent Marks fourth, Tyler Courtney in fifth in that one. And I believe that makes it 5 straight World of Outlaws titles for Brad Sweet?
5 straight. And I guess this is a good lead into our next thing. Then calls or quits. He's not running next year.
I know, right? So I wanted to ask you before we get too far into the whole high limit situation.
But yeah.
What is more impressive?
He said that was his first win at Charlotte as well.
What was more impressive? 5 straight titles in the World of Outlaws from Sweet, or Shepard's run of 10 in what we just said, 14 years? What's more impressive in terms of a dirt racing feat?
They're both equally impressive,
right?
Almost.
I think the 10.
I'm going to go with Shepard just because it's the numbers.
I think
longer.
The 10 and 14,
so we're going Shepard.
I'm going Shepard.
But
I would argue that
Brad Sweet going 5 in a row is Donnie Schott, Steve Kinzer, Chad. That's the kind of stuff they would do.
And I think
he's going to end his streak on purpose. So he could easily go 6.
And I think
so.
I don't want to say that
Shepard's got a bigger number, but Brad Sweet's got 100% in the last 5 years. Batting 100.
And
went to the plate 5 times.
What would you argue? Would you argue that the Super DIRTcar series has a tougher scale, in terms of field, or would you say the World of Outlaws has a tougher field?
I'm gonna go with the Outlaws.
See, that's what I would say. I would say there's more bullets in the chamber from the World of Outlaws that could potentially beat Sweet.
That just made a lot of people mad.
I know it did, but I'm just thinking about it. But at the same time, Shepard has just really covered them all, man.
It's just, I don't want to say about the competition.
I don't think we know what level of competition is in the Super DIRTcar series over the last little while because Shepard's been so dominant.
Yeah, you can say that in the World of Outlaws too. It's kind of the same thing. They all got their 2, their 5 guys that are, you expect them to win, and then the other guys that it's kind of the same thing, just different cars.
That's tough, right? I just looked down the field and I looked down even the top 10 from Saturday night in the World of Outlaws, right? If you told me,
I take it back by saying the talent, but the schedule for the Outlaws is definitely more grueling. It's not even
yes,
close
that is true
on that one.
But looking at the top 10 finishers just from Saturday night, tell me I'm going to read off all the names. Tell me if they couldn't win a title in World of Outlaws. Brad Sweet obviously can do it. Rico could do it. Logan Schuchart,
if he committed to
it. No.
Logan always commits to it. He's just more of a win 8 races, and I don't know about Logan. Logan would need a perfect season.
Brent Marks
to do it. He'd be like a 1 in. He's trying.
Tyler Courtney.
The way he ran last year, yes. Nope.
Sheldon Haas.
Are we talking next year? Or are we talking
I'm
ever?
talking ever. I think all of when I look at the top 10 of this race,
if we're going ever, start the list again.
If any of these drivers could ever win a World of Outlaws title, Brad Sweet, obviously, yes.
Ever.
Rico Abreu is capable. Yeah. Logan Schuchart, I would argue, is capable.
Yep. But those other guys, I would put them higher than Logan. Logan's always a win a lot, and then he'll have a few.
Brent Marks.
Yes.
Tyler Courtney. Sheldon Hausenschild. No, you don't think he could get it done?
A lot of people love Sheldon because he bangs the wall and stuff, but me personally, I would never hire Sheldon Haudenschild for my car ever. This goes to my, if I was McLaren, if I'm a car owner in F1 and I had to pick between Prost and Senna, I'm picking Prost just because.
He
he's
gets
safer.
the car to the finish, right?
He gets the car to the finish. And Sheldon's the same way. He's exciting as hell, And when he does win and blows by everybody, like it blows people's. But I've seen him drive into the wall and blow second places and lots of money and lots of points. And like, there's a reason he probably finished. I think it was like 8th or something in points this year. So yeah, Sheldon would have to work on his not wrecking in good positions thing to win a ship.
Okay, and then David Gravel,
obviously.
Carson Macedo.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Here's
Macedo's
where I would
insane.
say, here's
I
where
love
the
Macedo.
final two in the top 10 I think you could debate, but Brian Brown in 10th and
No.
Hunter Schoenberg.
Definitely not. Where's he? He's not 10th.
No,
points.
this was top 10 in the race on Saturday night. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah. So Hunter Schoenberg
Okay.
also no.
So that's just the top 10. So we just said, you just said basically 7 to 8 guys, depending on how you feel about Sheldon, could win a title inside the top 10 in that. And then I would wonder right now if we did the same thing in the Super DIRTcar series. Okay, let's see. Hang on, let me go back to their top 10.
I don't think I'm going to say yes to it.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying, like, oh, maybe like as much as 10 out of 14 is really, really impressive, and I'm still voting that way. I can see how you could make an argument for the sprint cars being the harder division and being more impressive to win 5 in a row.
Yeah.
It's so impressive. I know we're really just debating semantics, but hopefully this gets people fired up and maybe we'll get some comments and some DMs about what you think. But all right, here's the top 10 from the Super DIRTcar series main feature event from Charlotte. So the Saturday night went to Matt Shepard. We obviously know he's capable. Jimmy Phelps.
He's had a long time to win when it hasn't yet. So nope.
Matt Williamson.
Yep.
Capable. Mike Mahaney.
Got to get better at Mike Mahaney. Mahaney's like he needs like the perfect crew chief for him. Like he's kind of, I watch a lot of Mandy's videos. I only watch the ones that are at the track. I like watching the way drivers interact with their crew and stuff like that. And like one guy Mike's got right now, he's like right there, but like he's almost there. So I'm going to go with yes, he could do it if he really put his mind to it and didn't let anything distract him. He's big on distractions. I can tell through his videos. So if he got all them distractions out of his head, yes, he could do it.
Max McLaughlin.
Yes and no. He's like half and half.
I think he needs time. He's got to prove it.
The way he ran this year, heck no.
Tim Fuller. Capable, we'd obviously say.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Exactly. Anthony Perego.
Could do it. Needs a few more. Like if we're talking like a solid 5-6 more years on the tour. He's best friends. Him and Shepard are buds. Like they wear each other's shirts all the time. Mm-hmm. So he's got good help there. And I'm going to go with yes on Perego.
Dimitrios Drelos.
No, he's fast, but I'm going to go no on Ship.
Ryan Godown.
Definitely not.
And Eric Rudolph was your finished 10th in the race on Saturday night.
Rudy, if he got that ride, hell yeah, he could win a Ship. So it's pretty close.
So I think we said maybe 5 out of the top 10 finishers. So
yeah, Rudy
now obviously
with big money, like for sure. Like Rudy, anything that's his thing. Like he doesn't have everything he wants nonstop. If he had like every engine, everything, yes, he definitely could.
Yeah, and I'm like, of course, like that is truly selective because we're not going by points. We're going by top 10.
And the difference there, like
race.
Fuller already had one.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas the Outlaws, like everyone,
they're still chasing it.
The biggest winner right now, Donnie Schatz. He didn't finish in the top. So yeah,
I think he was like 12th or something. So that was an interesting conversation. Let us know. What do you think is the more impressive feat? The 10 out of 14 some odd years for Shepard in the Super DIRTcar series, or 5 straight championships in the World of Outlaws for Brad Sweet? You can let us know on X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Let us know. And I think we're both leaning Super DIRTcar series and Matt's impressive record, but it's tight.
They're both impressive.
I can make a case. We talked about Brad Sweet walking away from the World of Outlaws. That's probably tied into the big news that the High Limits have obviously acquired the All-Stars. If you missed out on that news, if you're somehow under a rock, and now they have every intention of going national with the High Limits next year. Travis, what are your thoughts? I feel like you got a lot to say on this, so I'm going to put the quarter in you and let you wind up.
I didn't say my opinions on the World Finals that things they did I thought were silly. One, put the cars out there without hot laps on a super fast track, and they wrecked a bunch of sprint cars. That was pretty
Ooh,
silly.
good point.
Like it works at Humberstone because it's kind of slow there. Like, but there you're hauling. Probably not smart. And the other thing, when they put the Uke tires out in the middle of the track to save the bottom groove, like, no, that was horrible. Okay,
Yeah,
there's
just
my
let the
world
drivers
finals
drive around
things. But other than that, it was a great world finals. But those two things really irked me. So anyway, yeah. And then now the other thing that's irking me, it's not, I don't really like this whole, it's going to be a flow versus dirt vision, this guy versus our guy. The one thing I do like about the high limit is they're bringing a safety crew to every track. The World of Outlaws don't, and that just absolutely boggles my mind. The one thing that boggles my mind the most, I've said this before, but when I watch races on flow or dirt vision and like tracks, other tracks I've never seen before, is like how long it takes some of the safety crews to get to the drivers. Like, we are so spoiled up here. That's why we've had those boys on the podcast, the Race Med.
Yeah, shout out Race Med.
Shout out Race Med, boys and girls. And yeah. So yeah, that's a huge thing. High limit. I love that. The World of Outlaws, you better counter with that. If you don't, like, shame on you. So that is more important than fire bottles and cars, if you ask me, as a traveling safety crew with stuff like that. Because if you have a safety member to the crew, like 5 safety members on the car within 2 seconds of them stopping, or 10 seconds, ta-da! So yeah, any fire ever has been because the safety crew at the track didn't have it ready to rock. So traveling safety crew is huge for traveling series like that. Blows, like I say, blows me away. It doesn't have it. But like this whole national tour versus national tour thing, TJ Slideways, Todd Buffenberger, he did a good article on it today. I didn't get all the way through it, but he is like not fully sold. Like, he's not sold at all, honestly, on the idea that this is good for sprint car racing. He says like he thinks it's going to be more of like maybe even separate the national touring guys from the regional guys even more, because now like the All Stars was kind of that stepgap where it wasn't quite a full blown national tour, and you could still race for a little bit less money but not quite as much travel. So like even Jack Hewitt, I read in his book, like he could stay home and race around Ohio. Like, he was one of the very first Outlaws back in the 70s. And like he got off the Outlaw Tour because in his opinion he could make just as much money running around home, winning $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 to win shows and not travel far, than he would like running 5th or 6th on the Outlaw Tour, which is probably where he would be. So there's a lot of stuff like that. So now the All Stars is gone. So that's probably going to kill a lot of our local 410 shows we just got going around here, like Ransomville and Utica and all that stuff. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen there. Another thing Todd mentioned in that article was like the high limit series. Like, there's been a lot of all-star tracks that have been having races the last few years and like on specific dates and stuff, and like they haven't even called them. And he said he brought that up in the meeting, and Brad kind of fluffed it off a little bit. He gave the quote in the article. So yeah, I know it's going to turn into a war. It's going to be like kart versus IRL.
Yeah,
sprint car version.
And like, it's like at one point I'm like kind of happy because it's like, oh, there's more money being pumped into the sport, but like really,
that part is great as well.
I just don't understand how they can coexist as two national things. Like, I'm really hoping that we'll get a high limit like regional breakdown, like I said. Like, I think if you do it similar
I
to
think they
what
already
the
did. They're going to do like
tour,
a mid. Yeah,
like if they do it,
they're going to do that like on the midweek stuff. Like this, the way they did it this year, they are going to do a separate thing like that.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
And some news came out yesterday that they did form an alliance with Fast on Dirt. So the Ohio Sprint Speed Week is going to continue for the high limits. The Ohio Sprint Speed Week for 2024 will be a part of the high limit calendar.
Kind of, but not really. They're just like tying their name to it so they don't get completely beat to death for taking the All-Stars out of Ohio Sprint Speed Week, which is the All-Stars.
Exactly. Like Fast, I'm reading here, Fast will schedule, manage, and execute all Ohio Speedway Sprint Weeks events.
Putting a Band-Aid on it. Yeah. That's them putting a Band-Aid on it.
It's almost like high limit writing the check.
Yeah. Because, if you think Ohio Speed Week and not All-Stars, that's been All-Stars since day one. That's been going forever. So.
One of the things too that I was kind of like a little bit bummed out about with the national news is I just question whether that means that we're going to still have a great 410 sprint race at Ransomville, for example, because that was the closest one we had.
Utica and all that,
right?
Yeah,
all that stuff may disappear off the calendar, especially if those tracks choose to be dirt sanctioned, right? Like, I don't know how that'll pay out. I don't know if like maybe Larson and
but
Sweet
the Outlaws are going to be losing dates as well, so the Outlaws are going to need to clean up. So maybe we'll just switch. Maybe the Outlaws will have to start coming down here.
That'd be cool.
It's going to be wild. Going to be wild. The Outlaws have been here before.
Yep.
They just stopped recently, and I think it was cheaper to get an All-Star show, but bet you won't be much cheaper now. The one thing I do hope that comes of this is I hope this forces the Outlaws to drop their "you can't race anywhere else but with us" rule.
I feel like it won't. I'm not optimistic about that. Like,
I feel like that way it might help. I don't know. That way maybe.
What about an expansion? Like, what if you went halfway? Like, I think they did 4 races this year. What if you went to like 10?
I'll go for an expansion.
I think 10 is a decent little number to step up to. Even 8 if you double it.
Do something.
Yeah.
I hate that rule.
Because if they're going to be national too on the high limit, like, wouldn't it be awesome to have some more like obviously Sweet and Larson are going to be the California kids, but like there's obviously drivers from all over the country that compete on the World of Outlaws. So let them kind of go and race at their home tracks with the high limits for some big cash. Maybe that'd be cool.
I agree with that. And like to that point, like the reason they did it is because they said like, then you'll be seeing an Outlaw show everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But to me, like the fields everyone has come so close together. Like when they raced at Eldora late this year, or was it Eldora? Anyway, one of the weekends, it might have been in Pennsylvania, where like the All-Stars swept all of them versus the Outlaws. All All-Star drivers won every race. That was Eldora, I think.
It's close. Anyway. Like they're not. It's not like a drop off in competition drastically, anyways. So,
especially when Brad Sweet's hauling butt to go to run his own series, obviously. Mm-hmm. So there you go. You just lost your champion.
Yeah, it's wide open on the World of Outlaws side now.
Yeah, David Gravel will probably get his championship next year.
Yep. Well, with all that said, it's going to be interesting to see how everything shakes out at PRI. We got to jump on and grab Jessica Power, who we've been talking about having on the show for the last couple of weeks, and we're going to get her on.
She's finally home.
She's finally home. She's not in a trailer somewhere, so we're going to bring her on the show and talk about the touring lifestyle of Jessica Power. And I mean, that girl races anywhere there is a race. We've seen her down here in Southern Ontario, seen her up at her home tracks, seen her in Western New York, down in Charlotte. So looking forward to that. Jessica Power coming up on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Ohsweken Speedway, Southern Ontario's home for Friday night excitement. For over 25 years, Ohsweken Speedway has promoted and played host to sprint car racing with a new season of family-friendly events on the horizon and set to begin May 19th. Catch our own Travis Cunningham as he races weekly in the 360 division each Friday night in pursuit of a season-long championship. The Friday night lineups are rounded out by crate sprints, thunder stocks, and mini stock divisions as well. In addition to weekly racing, Ohsweken Speedway will also hold several marquee events for the Southern Ontario Sprints, the Action Sprint Tour in their West Series and National Series, as well as a visit from Canada's premier stock car series, the NASCAR Pinty Series on August 14th and 15th for their only stop on dirt. Mark your calendars as the 3/8 mile dirt track located in Ohsweken, Ontario welcomes drivers from across the country and beyond for the 19th running of the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals, which is scheduled for September 16th. To keep up to date with the latest news from the track, be sure to find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For track information on policies, admissions, directions, and more, be sure to visit ohswekenspeedway.ca. That's OHSWEKEN Speedway.ca. Ohsweken Speedway, your home for Friday night excitement. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Bicknell Racing Products. The last 40 years plus have seen Bicknell Racing Products grow to be an industry leader for racers and enthusiasts alike. Their St. Catharines location is home to 20,000 square feet of manufacturing and retail space, with a second store in Niagara Falls, New York, and a dealer network that continues to grow day by day to serve Southern Ontario, Western New York, and beyond. Bicknell Racing Products distributes Hoosier tires for much of Eastern Canada, New York, and even parts of Pennsylvania. BRP has everything you could need to keep your car performing at its peak with genuine parts from the manufacturer. They even have a technical support line committed to helping you with the most up-to-date information and feedback from racers and crew chiefs. Have you ever thought about a career in the automotive or racing industry? Now is your chance to take the leap with Bicknell Racing Products. They are looking for CNC machine operators, welders, and more to join their team this season. Please send all resumes to Dana Curving at BicknellRacingProducts.com. That's DANACURVIN at BicknellRacingProducts.com. For further information on Bicknell Racing Products and to find a dealer near you, visit BRP online at www.BicknellRacingProducts.com or on Facebook or at twitter.com/BicknellRacing. All right, joining the show now, we've got Jessica Power. Finally, we've teased this for like a couple weeks, but it's been a busy end of the season for you. So, Jessica, thank you for taking the time and joining us on the show here tonight. How's things going?
Great. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm sorry it's taken this long to get on.
Oh, that's totally okay. We understand. Racing.
We had to cancel on you a couple of times once too.
Yeah, that's true too. And then I went away
It's
on
all
vacation.
good.
It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing.
It was a thing.
But talk to us about what has been a kind of a crazy end to the year for you. I mean, you were down in Charlotte, some big DIRTcar tour stuff kind of back towards home for you, I believe. So talk to us about 2023 and especially a busy end of the year.
Yeah. 2023 was it was probably one of the less busy years we've had just because of all the rain. We actually had a lot of rainouts at our weekly stuff this year, which was good and bad, I guess. We had a bit of a slow start. We weren't great out of the box like we were last year, so it was a little bit hard to battle back, and we were a little disappointed at first, but we came on strong at the end of the year. Super Dirt Week went great for us, and we had, like you said, a really busy fall season, lots of touring. We're all over the place. After Oswego, we went to Brockville, of course, for the fall nationals. And then a week and a half later, we headed to Charlotte. And we usually go for 2 weeks, 1 week of the World Short Track Championships and then 1 week of vacation. But this year we decided to take the big block. So we actually were racing both weeks, which was so much fun, but so much work.
I can imagine. All right. So the whole reason we decided to have you on was your big run in Oswego. So I want you to talk us through that whole week.
Yes. So we kind of talked about it before we went, and I love big tracks. So Super Dirt Week, the mile was probably my favorite. But going to big tracks is always a lot of fun for us, and the atmosphere is great, and everybody has a good time. But we kind of set some goals, and one of the goals was we wanted to time trial in the top 6 and lock ourselves in. And we were really hoping, a win would have been great, but we were aiming for a top 5. So we accomplished both of those, which is super exciting. We also had kind of hoped we were going to win best appearing car, which we actually did. So that was, kind of a feather in the cap. The car looked great. It was pretty unique. And
I agree.
Yeah, it was flashy with the purple. When the graphics guy said ask purple, I was like, oh, I don't know, but it turned out amazing. So, we accomplished all our goals. The week itself, obviously it threatened to rain. We knew it was going to rain all weekend. So we were trying to get as much in and really be on our game at the beginning of the week because we just didn't know what was going to come. So when we locked in time trials, it was pretty exciting. I was about halfway through the field of 80 plus cars in time trials, and I went to the top of the board and I actually pulled in the pits, and I couldn't believe it. I thought there's no way that's my number on the top of the board. But we sat there for a long time, and at the very end, unfortunately, the track got a little bit faster and I got knocked down a little bit, but to still be locked in is such a great feeling when there's 80 plus cars and you don't have to worry about it. And then, the rain came, and it was like the never ending saga of rain.
I felt bad for all you people down there.
Mm-hmm. We went to dinner, I guess, on the Sunday night in Oswego, and it was just sheets and sheets of rain falling. And we all said, there's no way we're going to race tomorrow. So I can't believe they pulled it off.
Oh, where did you actually time in?
I ended up fifth in time trials. Yeah. It was 4 of the last 10 cars were the cars that went faster than me. So the track got a little faster, and that happens in the daytime on dirt. So
I've had this theory I want to ask you about it because you raced on the track. So like now that we know that Oswego can take a dumping like that and the racing and the track turned out pretty good, do we do that on purpose every year? Put that much water on before, like in the morning, and work it in, maybe like a hot lap session or 2 extra. But like it turned out like Max flipped in the first lap, but after that first few laps in the small blocks, like it came in pretty perfect.
It did, yeah. And it really, I mean, obviously, I don't know what the big block race was like. We went home, but from video and talking to people, it didn't seem like it run it up even, which you kind of expect it might, especially after that much rain. I don't know if I can get on board with the whole pouring water on the racetrack thing, but I mean, you can't argue with the results. It was great.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, they definitely learned some things.
The other thing, so you clip the inside wall in the race. You never did get to the race. And you were like, wait, you never talked yourself through the race yet. Because like you got the second. Yeah. Talk us through it. Talk us through it.
Okay, so race day, Monday, I mean, it was a bit chaotic, right? Because they're trying to cram everything in and we don't know when we're actually going to get out there and what it's going to be like. So we were trying to make the best calls that we could. And I think we obviously made the right setup calls. And the first, I don't know, probably 10-ish laps, I tend to be a little conservative, a lot conservative, to the dismay of my team usually. But I was kind of just riding around, biding my time, trying to make sure I kept my nose clean and trying to see how good the car was. I understand why. It was unfortunate, though, that they shortened our race to 50 instead of 75. And they decided to count all caution laps. So I think my mom was keeping track. She said we did like 21 green flag laps, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. You can't beat the weather. So for the first little bit, I was kind of just biding my time. But then about probably halfway, I really felt like the car was starting to come in and I was getting faster. And I just kind of started picking people off. I got a good start on a couple of the restarts and was able to clear a couple of people. And when I got into third, we had a longer green flag stretch, and I actually started closing on second. And at that point I thought, okay, I definitely know I have enough to get to second. And then it was just, caution after caution. And when I finally did get to second, it was probably only a lap or two before I clipped the wall, but I actually felt like I was reeling Matt in, and
you were.
Who knows?
You were.
Should have, coulda, woulda, right?
Yeah.
I try not to focus on the fact that maybe I was fast enough to win, but it was I think it was 8 or 9 laps to go when I clipped the wall, and we watched the video in the shop. When we were getting ready for Charlotte, the guys turned it on, and I said, "Please don't make me relive this again."
Yep, I hear you there.
But we watched it, and you can actually see where I clipped the wall. And in the video, if you pause it, you can see a puff of air and dust because it instantly lets the air out of the tire. So it was a massive handful for the last 7 or 8 laps like that. And if it had been 1 or 2 shorter, I might have held on to third. But
yeah. I saw one article you were really hard on yourself. It made the article, if you read it, like it made it sound like you fell to tail, and then I had to double check the results. I'm like, no, she still finished 5th.
Yeah.
Oh man, we went way too hard on herself here.
Well, when you know or think you're fast enough.
I know the feeling. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It really was still an impressive run and a great showing, especially for us Canadians. It gave us something to cheer for down there in the Sportsman. Lots of Canadians had great runs throughout Oswego. But I want to back it right up to the very beginning. How did your racing career start? Where's the home track? How did Jessica Power, the race car driver, come to be?
Well, that is, it's always funny when I tell this story. I was a teenager, and I'm an only child and an only grandchild to my one grandmother. And she would always go to this local vegetable stand. And she wanted me to go with her because there was this cute boy that worked at the vegetable stand. So as a 15-year-old girl, you can imagine, like, I don't want to go. I can just imagine what this person looks like, right? Anyway, she tricked me one day into going, and the guy and I talked, and it's funny, after he said, the same thing, that this lady would come in and talk about her granddaughter, and he's thinking the same, like, ooh, what kind of, I bet she's a real looker, right? If her grandmother has to set her up. But, we became friends, and he actually raced in Brighton at Brighton Speedway. So my mom and dad and I went to watch, and we had a really good time and became friends with the family, and we'd go and help them with their car. And the next year, my dad and I decided we wanted to give it a try. So he's a mechanic by trade. So we got a car from the local wrecker and put it together in our driveway.
Awesome. And what was that first car? Yeah.
It was an Acura Integra, so it was a mini stock or 4-cylinder class.
Awesome.
Nice.
So where to go from the mini stocks?
So we did that for a couple years. We did it for a year at Brighton, and then I think 2 years at Brockville, won the track championship. And then right around that time was when they were transitioning from open sportsman motors to crate motors. And at the time, we just felt like it's more affordable and manageable as a relatively new racing team to do that. So we actually bought Larry White's old sportsman car at the time. And got into it and raced that car for a year, and then started to upgrade our equipment a little bit, and we've been doing sportsman ever since. So it's been
mini stock to sportsman.
Mini stock to sportsman, and no go-karts. Never, no one in my family raced. I'd never been exposed to it, so that was it.
How many sportsman wins you got? I know, definitely.
That's a good question. We were talking about stats down in Charlotte. I don't actually know. I want to say it's around the 20-ish mark, but I don't actually know.
In sportsman alone?
Yeah.
Holy.
Good for you. Yeah. That's awesome.
I had 3 or 4 mini stock wins in the championship, and I think but I mean, it's been a long time. It's probably been 15 or 16 years that I've been
in a while.
So, yeah.
I want to do this list of like top 10 women female drivers of all time, and you just made the list. I don't know where on the list, but you're on it.
That's all right. I'm on it. That's good.
I would say so. I would say that's the traveling alone, because you are somebody who, when I think of experience and when I think of drivers, locally, there's some guys that I go to some tracks and I expect them to travel. There's some girls that I expect to travel. There's some people who I'm like, you guys are homers. I'm only ever going to see you on Saturday night. I can go to any facility and there's a chance that you might show up, because if there's a sports race, it seems like you guys have been to it. I swear I've watched you at least 5 or 6 tracks in my short time covering dirt racing. So talk to us about traveling. And I guess at this point in your career, it's at least it seems like a priority. Is it a priority to you to still get out to as many different tracks as you can?
Yeah, it is. When I first started, I mean, we didn't have the experience. We didn't really know what we were doing. And, we asked for help, and we stayed local because we just didn't know. But not long into racing sportsmen, Sean kind of flagged to me, like, you need to go places. You need to experience other tracks, other surfaces, other racers that you race against. And that was kind of our goal, was to get me to as many places as possible. And I learned, it was tough lessons, but I learned way more traveling around and going to different places. And I feel like it keeps you on your toes, right? If you can go and get out of your comfort zone and go to different tracks and be competitive everywhere you go, it gives you a better shot at championships and traveling series. And even when you go back, home to your home track, it just makes you that much better.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to talk about running a big block twice this year at probably the 2 hardest tracks you could pick possibly to do it at.
Yes. When we kind of decided, or the deal kind of came about, that we were going to have a big block, everybody said, don't go to Volusia, right? It's like the worst possible place you could start your big block career, because it's so fast and such a big stage and all of the things. But I said, you know what? We had no expectations. We didn't have any illusions that we were going to go set fast time or win a race or even qualify for that matter. We just wanted to have fun and try it out. And it's wintertime in Canada, so Florida is kind of a nice place to go.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a long drive, and in hindsight, it would have been nice to qualify, but we had a great time. And I think Charlotte, we raced 3 other times throughout the season with the Big Block. We went to Weedsport in May, Mohawk in July, and then Brockville in August. So we actually qualified for all 3 of those shows and were able to race them, which was pretty exciting. And then when we went to Charlotte, I mean, my goal was to qualify, right? That's what I really wanted. So I was a little disappointed that we didn't, but I looked around the pit area and, talking to the crew, and everybody said, you know what? There was 170 drivers there, and I bet 160 of them were professional race car drivers, right? That is what they do for a living. So I tried not to beat myself up too much, and we were close a couple times. It's just, I found it was really hard to go from the Sportsman to the Big Block, not just because of horsepower, but the weight difference in the motor. It's a lot different, the setup and the handling and what I as a driver have to do. So I missed it a little bit, but we'll be better next year.
I like that attitude. That's good. I wanted to ask about, talking about traveling, talking about all the places you've been to. Is there one track that stands out to you as your favorite so far?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say that if you'd asked me that question 4 or 5 years ago, hands down, Can-Am Speedway would have been my answer. And I still really like it. And it's a great facility, great people that run it. Tyler and his family are amazing. It's not for any of that. But since they reconfigured it, I am not nearly as good there. So,
Fair.
When you don't go great, you're not necessarily as big a fan. But like I said, I do really like long tracks. So Mohawk, Can-Am, Oswego, even Charlotte is a pretty big place. So any place like that is a lot of fun. I don't know that I really have a favorite anymore. There's some places that are not on my favorite list.
Ooh, okay. I got to share a couple of those now.
Oh, he's making her make people mad.
No. And it's nothing against any of the facilities because they're all amazing. It's about how I do at those places.
That's fair.
The 2 that stick out are Glenridge and Brewerton. So I'd never been to Glenridge before, but they're similar. They're very small, and I'm not a fan of really small racetracks.
That's fair, though.
But having said that, when we went to Glenridge twice this year, and if it wasn't for the 3.5-hour drive or almost 4-hour drive on a Sunday night, I think I would force myself to race there all year because you have to be up on the wheel and you have to have your stuff together to be competitive there. So if you want to make yourself better, you go to the places where you really don't want to go.
That's true.
That's fair.
All right. So we talked when you had your BRP spa day, you brought one of your cars down there earlier in the year. You got any plans for next year? We were talking about that.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, knew that was coming.
Plans are up in the air. We really want to take that next step. We love sportsman racing and it's a lot of fun and we can go just about anywhere with a sportsman car, but we'd really I said, it's been 15 plus years. I'd like to move up to 358s. We're getting closer, but we need some sponsors to step up and, we probably need to find some new partners for next year if we're going to make that happen.
If you did it, would you go W16 or like the spec motor?
I would prefer a spec motor, just because most of the places we race on a weekly basis are they're not so conducive to a W16.
Gotcha.
That's fair.
And I've had a couple people ask me that question. And some of I'll say the professionals who we talk to about it say that my driving style is better suited to a spec motor because I tend to run the bottom and I get out of the gas and need to get back in the gas. And W16 is a lot more like a crate motor. You got to keep it wound up.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Just blows me away that W16s are going for the same as like a new crate motor these days, like a used W16. Blows me away.
Blows my mind that a crate motor is going for as much as it's going for now.
Yeah, that also blows me away as well.
It's crazy what is going on with the sport, but you heard it here. Looking for partners.
$3,500 anymore.
Yeah.
No.
If anybody wants,
it was nice when it was.
Yes.
If anybody wants to jump on board the side of a race car, I think Jessica Powers looking for. And you know what? You're always going to bring a nice looking car to the racetrack, so it's good to have a brand on the side of that. So
I don't like yellow cars, but I like hers.
I know that's what I said too. I always was like, yellow's such a different car. Like I've seen like old photos of like our friend's Travis Miller's dad's car back in the day, and it's a yellow car, and I'm like, it's all right, it's fine, it's a nice color. But then every time you guys show up, I'm like, you look unique. There's not too many other yellow cars to compete against, and it just looks good.
It stands out, right? You notice it.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
your look. It's always been her look. Yep.
Yes. For as long as I can remember, I've had yellow on my car.
Yep.
Was that intentional, or was that like a happy accident that started the career?
I think it was kind of a happy accident. The yellow and orange always kind of stand out. They're bright. They go together. When I very, very first got into it, everybody wanted me to have a pink car because I was a girl and I was racing. And I said, no.
F
I don't
that,
want a
she
pink
says.
car. Nothing against pink or women having pink on their race cars. It just wasn't my jam. So I chose not to go for the pink. So even the purple this year was kind of a little more, I'll say, girly than I normally go.
That's less girly than pink to me, though.
Absolutely. And it looks great.
Next year, I want to put pink on my car for the opposite reason, just because, like, a lot of guys say they would hate pink on a race car. I want to do it just because.
It's different for a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys' cars with pink look great.
Yeah, I think I might do it.
As long as it's not green. Green is, I'm still standing by green is the unlucky color.
Green is out. I know.
Out.
Our main sponsor, Green Shield Pest Control, we had to have, I don't want to say a battle, but a heated discussion because he wanted his logo in green. And I said, it can't happen.
It's very bad luck. You don't put it on. The only major crashes I've ever watched really with the Jeff Gordon 24, he had the green Nicorette colors. So ever since I was a little kid, I was like, yep, nope, can't do that. So we'll get you out of here on this one. We got one more here that we ask all of our driving friends that come on board the Southern Ontario Dirt Show, Jessica. And that is, I'm going to give you one race car, one racetrack to drive at for the rest of your life. What's the combination? It can be something you've driven in the past, or it can be like a complete fantasy, like one shot I get to do it.
That is such a cool question.
He stole it from Corey LaJoy.
I did steal it from Corey LaJoy.
So, I will say that, again, if you'd asked me this like even a month ago, I would have said a big block of Charlotte.
Done.
Back in the wintertime, we had kind of some meetings with some sponsors, and they said, like, what's your dream? What do you want to do? And I was like, I want to drive a big block of Charlotte. So I'm so fortunate that I was able to do that this year. And it's not that I've, checked it off the list and I don't want to do it anymore. But I actually think I'd like to race a big block someplace else, but I don't know for the rest of my career. I don't know what that one place else would be. I feel like maybe a Can-Am or a Land of Legends, I should say, or a Mohawk, someplace like that. But big block, I think, would be the car of choice.
You can say Canandaigua. It's still Canandaigua to me.
Yeah, I know.
I think to all of us it still is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time out tonight to join us. Congrats on all the success. Congrats on all the traveling and a great 2023 campaign and being a great representative for women racers all across the Northeast and North America. And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show presented by Oswego Speedway and Bicknell Racing Products.
Thank you guys so much.
Like what you hear, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Connect with us on Facebook at Southern Ontario Dirt Show, or find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SODS_pod. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.